Hello everyone, let's look at some definitions here. Let's define frequency. It is defined as the number of oscillations made by the body in 1 second. This is called as frequency of vibrations or frequency of oscillations. To understand this, let's recall example of spring and mass attached to it. Now suppose if you pull the mass down and leave it, it will oscillate. Let's assume that the mass oscillates between these 2 points. So if we take time as 1 second and if we calculate the number of oscillations it does in 1 second, that is called as frequency. It is measured in units of hertz and its dimensional formula would be t power minus 1. That is because frequency is equal to 1 by capital T. The capital T is called as time period. So it will be per second, and this per second is called as hertz. The next thing is called as displacement. In this chapter, displacement is used in a general sense. So don't always think displacement means only with distance. Here it is used in a general sense, which means that we can say displacement refers to the change of any physical property. Keep in mind that it is any physical property which need not only mean distance. So it refers to change of any physical property under consideration with time. So that physical property which we are considering should change with time. Now there are many examples of displacement which we consider in this chapter. One example is called as position displacement. For example, if you think of motion in a straight line, say tossing a coin upwards, this coin will go up, stop, and then return back. So here displacement would mean about the position, and that is called as position displacement. One example of displacement we could think of as charge on a capacitor in AC circuit. Now in case of a capacitor, if you charge it to a AC circuit, then the charge across the capacitor, its voltage drop, and also energy would vary across the capacitor. If you have something else with it, for example, if you put some capacitor with a resistor, something along with it, then what will happen is the charge across this would vary and also voltage would vary. So in this case, we could think of charge or voltage with time. Similarly, when sound moves from a point to another point, that causes change in pressure. So even pressure variation could be thought of a displacement. So the idea is that displacement is a very general term in this context, and then it has many examples given here. What is given is just few examples. There are many such examples where something would change. In the previous case, we saw about something called as torsional pendulum. We saw that if you have a disc attached to a wire, and suppose if we rotate the disc by an angle like this, then disc will start to rotate, start to oscillate, basically oscillate between these 2 ends. So here we can think of the angle of rotation as a displacement. There's many forms to it. Now for in case of a periodic motion or oscillatory motion, the general form for displacement is given here. So the most common examples for oscillatory motions are function of time could be a into cos omega t, or one example could be v into sine omega t. These are general forms of equations for displacement, where this function could mean anything. This function could mean a distance like x of t or y of t. Here t means with time. This could be charge, we could have q of t. This could be current, where we have I of t. Could be many things. But generally For a periodic motion, the displacement is given of the form f of t is equal to a into cos omega t, or other form is b into sin omega t. This cos omega t and sin omega t are called as sinusoidal waves. Now, sinusoidal waves basically means it either means it is a sine wave or a cosine wave. These two waves together are called as sinusoidal waves. Here A and B are called as amplitude or maximum displacement. So these are constant for a given motion. These are called as amplitude. For example, if you look at variation of charge on a capacitor, then this A becomes charge amplitude. If you find the variation of pressure with time, then this A or B becomes pressure amplitude. So amplitude would be the maximum value of a given parameter. So this is what is displacement.